What's up, guys? It has been with 2020 election predictions. And what you're looking at right now is the 2020 presidential results. So we have 306 electoral votes for Biden and 232 electoral votes for Trump. And this is kind of all the margins. We have the tilt, the lean, the likely, and the solid margins. What I want to look at now is how the electoral votes are going to be allocated differently. So this is kind of the estimated kind of gains and losses that each state's going to have. So some notable ones here: Texas is going to gain 3 electoral votes, and I kind of presuppose the elections of the 2020 onto the 2024. But obviously, I do think that they're going to be different. And just for the sake of this video, I didn't do the Nebraska and Maine congressional districts just because they cancel out. But we do see here that overall, the Republicans actually gained 4 electoral votes, and I think what one kind of trend that we're seeing is that um, a lot of people are kind of leaving the Democratic kind of strongholds, like in New York and California. I think the census is going to be kind of taken before a lot of people are moving out of California, and of course, you're getting a lot of immigration into California from the South. But we see Texas gaining 3. We see Florida gaining 2, and we see just some states losing them. Those are kind of the big ones that I want to focus on. Arizona is gaining an electoral vote, and we just see a few changes here. So the Rust Belt is losing a few electoral votes. If we kind of look at like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Minnesota, Illinois is losing one, Ohio is losing one. But overall, what we are seeing is kind of definitely kind of a influx of votes in Texas and Florida. So how does this change? So I did a past video on who I think the nominees will be for 2024. I'm fairly confident that the 2024 Democratic nominee is going to be Kamala Harris, but I'm not very sure about the Republican nominee. We've seen Donald Trump is kind of teasing with a bid for 2024. I don't think he will end up being the nominee, but I do think he's going to have a tremendous influence on who that's going to be. And really, right now, I have no idea who it's going to be. So I'm not even going to speculate that on right now. If we look at the predicted site right now, we can see that people are pretty split in 2024. So we can see that earlier. Maybe some people thought that Democrats were going to do well in 2024. But I think what a lot of people kind of are thinking is that Joe Biden is not going to be the nominee. Joe Biden, like Donald Trump, I think is likely to be a one-term president. So one thing I want to look at here is what do we think? What states do we think are going to decide the 2024 election? So before I get to that, I kind of want to look at this 538 article, which I think is pretty interesting, about how the 2020 election changed the electoral map. So we can see here that in the Rust Belt states that matter, they only kind of flipped over by about 1 or 2 percentage points. So Michigan flipped about 2. Wisconsin just barely, like just about 1 percentage point, and Pennsylvania about like a 1.5. Because we see in the 2016 margins that Trump won all these states by a tilt margin. So I mean, there was only a few thousand, or about tens of thousands of votes were switched. And I do think that Joe Biden did have a kind of a better appeal than Hillary Clinton. I do think if Hillary Clinton was running again in 2020, then Trump actually would have won. I think that Joe Biden was just perceived more as maybe a moderate candidate, and I think just through historically he was kind of, he could appeal better to kind of the white working class type of voter. But we we don't see kind of a dramatic shift here. So we do see slowly that our Republicans have done well, but between 2016 and 2020, it was pretty similar. So I do think that the Republicans can look to kind of flip this back and maybe continue this trend of the Rust Belt turning red. But we kind of saw the opposite trend in the Sun Belt. So Arizona and Georgia, that was the first time they went blue since 1996 and 1992. Um, and I think that this trend is going to continue. So looking at some changes going into 2024, I think Arizona is actually going to be potentially, I don't know this for sure. In 2024, I think if Kamala Harris is the nominee, I don't think she's as strong electorally as Biden. So I think it would still be tilt. But I think that Arizona is going to trend leftward pretty fast. Georgia, I think, is going to trend a little bit slower. But I do think it's going to be hard for Republicans to ever win Georgia or Arizona again. I do think that maybe a more See, it's tough. See, I think Trump like did a lot better for the Republicans up here, but I actually think he hurt the Republicans in Georgia and Arizona. And we can see this actually, maybe not as much in Arizona, but like the Republicans on the Senate level did very, very well in Georgia, kind of relative to Trump. So David Perdue outperformed Trump by 2 points in Georgia. So it's not game over, but I think it's going to be hard for the Republicans to win these states in 2024. Kind of going down, we do see that Texas has been trending leftward by a pretty good margin. I do think that in 2024, it's going to be a lean Republican state. I was actually surprised that Trump went by 6. I thought it was going to be a little closer. So I think we're definitely seeing Texas shift as maybe more left wing people from California are moving to Texas just because their economy is growing so big. Like Elon Musk is moving, Joe Rogan. A lot of different people are moving are moving to Texas. And also when we see more immigration coming in as well. North Carolina, I do think it's going to be slightly trending leftward, but again in 2024, I think it's going to be a swing state like it has been in the past 4 years. But it's definitely not trending leftward as fast as like Georgia is by any means. And the interesting story of the 2020 election, I think, was the fact that Florida, we'd see this is kind of the only state that in the past 4 elections has just trended to the right in every single one by this is like a pretty straight line here. I don't know how sustainable this will be. I just think that the Trump campaign did very, very well with Cuban voters and especially Latino voters. And if we look at kind of the like racial makeup between the 2016 and 2020, we can see that the reason why Donald Trump lost is because he underperformed with white voters, and there's a 3 point shift. And even though he did better with Black, Latino, and Asian voters by a lot larger margins in terms of percentage, just because white voters make such a big part of the electorate, this shift was enough to give Biden the victory, and just because voter turnout was so high. But we do see that Trump did marginally better with Black, Latino, and Asian voters, and these inroads are significant. So I think if you have kind of a less divisive president as Trump on the Republican end, I think you can get this number back to minus 20%, and then potentially a Republican candidate can continue to make inroads. So I think a lot of people thought that the demographic trends were going to kind of be game over for Republicans. But I don't think that is going to be the case. But let's kind of look at kind of where Republicans can look at to kind of if they want to win in 2024. So I think where they can make inroads the most. So I changed Texas from likely to lean because I definitely think that's where it's going to be. I think where they can make inroads the most is going to be in Wisconsin. I think this could definitely be a tilt margin, and then also Pennsylvania. So if they win both those states and the Democrat is still leading, obviously we don't know the exact census realignment here yet. So if it's just off by about 4 electoral votes, then obviously the Republican could win. But where do y'all think next is the best possible place for the Republicans to win? Um, Part of like I'm very torn between Michigan and Georgia right now. I mean, I do think that on the surface the map is harder for Republicans because they kind of have to come from behind. But I don't think that flipping Pennsylvania or Wisconsin will be that hard. Um, Arizona is, I mean, it was very, very close in terms of the raw vote totals, as was Georgia. But I just see these states moving leftward, while Michigan is either going to kind of remain where it is or even move rightward. So I do think kind of the four years is going to make a difference. So honestly, I can see this being a very plausible outcome in 2024, and I could even see kind of Michigan and New Hampshire kind of remaining here if Republicans continue to make inroads into the Latino community. Arizona could kind of be that tipping point state that put Republicans on top. If Republicans do better with suburban women, especially in the Atlanta metro area, I could see them picking up Georgia again. And if Republicans do better with black voters and they kind of revitalize the 2016 Trump coalition in Michigan, they definitely could flip this again. So this was kind of the result of the 2016 election. You can see that Republicans would pick up 2 extra votes. But we can see right here. I do think that if Kamala Harris is the nominee at large, and you can have a candidate on the Republican side that brings kind of the same energy that Trump did and kind of has the same appeal to the white working class as Trump did, but maybe is less divisive, then I could see this definitely as a plausible map. Maybe they flip Nevada, maybe even Minnesota. I just definitely think, okay, hold on. So let's go back to where we were in 2020. So where the states were the closest, I do think where if Trump were just a little bit less divisive, it could maybe appeal to kind of the suburban women type voter. I think he wins Georgia. I think he wins Arizona. And I think potentially he wins Wisconsin. But the only thing you lose if, for example, you have a Mike Pence or a Nikki Haley instead of Donald Trump, I think that you lose Wisconsin. So this is where it is right here. So even in 2024, with the different alignment for the electoral votes, the Republicans need to break into the Rust Belt in one state, or win in the state of Nevada. So if maybe you have a more mentioned Republican, maybe this is their path, because I think Trump kind of did something with the Rust Belt that's going to be hard for any other Republican to replicate. But obviously, I mean, there's zero margin for error. And with Georgia, Arizona trending leftward, I think this is going to be hard to recreate. But that's where I am right now, and the reason why I'm kind of doing this from the perspective of the Republicans is just because they're definitely gonna have to make up more ground. But if we look at the betting odds, we can see that they're even. So by no means is it game over for the Republicans in 2024. And be on the lookout for more videos, kind of where I talk about the different nominees, because I do think if Kamala Harris is the nominee, I think she's weaker than Joe Biden or Barack Obama or even Hillary Clinton. So something to definitely be on the lookout for. But Republicans definitely need to pick a strong candidate if they want to win. So thank you guys for watching, and be on the lookout for a new video.